Hi, this is Dave Lawler from davelawler.com. Today we're going to talk about configuring distributed file systems, also known as DFS. My last video discussed installing DFS on a Server 2008 box. Today we are going to configure that. As you know, there are two things that can be configured in the DFS. That is the DFS namespace and the DFS replication. Today we are going to deal with DFS namespace. So let's go ahead and click Start, Administrative Tools, DFS Management. Once that comes up, we're going to go ahead and click on the namespace. You can either right-click and click New Namespace, or just come on over to the Actions pane, click New Namespace. The first thing it's going to ask you for is the server you want to host the namespace. This can be any server in your domain or a standalone Windows 2008 server. The easiest way to find it, especially in a domain, is if you want to browse, go to Advanced, Find Now. This server happens to be TS Test, so we're going to have them click on that. Click OK. It'll fill that in. Go ahead and click Next. As you can see, it's working to validate the input. It's basically checking if the server exists and if DFS is installed. Okay, so now you have to enter the name for the namespace. Now this is going to be the public-facing name for your clients. So it'll be either domain/namespace or server-namespace, depending if it's a domain namespace or standalone. I'm going to go ahead and type in public, as this is going to be a public files. Now if you look here, there's an edit settings box. If you go ahead and click that, you can change the local path of the shared folder if you had already set one up. And here's something also cool for the shared folder permissions. You can go ahead and choose what permissions you want. Now DFS will set up the share if it does not already exist. Along that line, you can also have it set the permissions from all users have read-only, all users have read and write permissions, administrators have full access, but the users have limited versions, or you can even go into custom and set up custom rules just like you would on any other security object if you have specific groups set up already. I'm going to go ahead and choose administrators have full access, others have read and write permissions, and hit OK. And then I'm going to hit Next. Okay, now here's the real meat of the DFS namespace configuration. There's domain-based namespaces and standalone namespaces. And then under domain-based namespace, there's also a Windows Server 2008 mode. Now the big thing about the domain-based namespaces is that it can be stored on one or more namespaces, and it's in Active Directory domain services. This increases the availability of the domain-based namespace by using multiple servers to spread it out. So if one server is down, others will still be able to find the namespace and use the files as long as the file locations are up on the server. Enable Windows Server 2008 mode will make the scalability increase and also give you access-based enumeration so you can use more security permissions. Now, standalone namespace might be nice for those of you who only have one server and are just looking to ease the name transition for your users. The only problem is if the standalone namespace is really standalone. If you are worried about availability or if that server might go down, you'd have to use a failover cluster to protect it. So we're going to use domain-based namespace, and we're also going to use Enable Windows Server 2008 mode, which will give us additional functionality. The thing about the Enable Windows Server 2008 mode is you're not able to use any Server 2003, and your Active Directory domain services must be running in 2008 mode also. So we're going to go ahead and click Next. And you're going to see review settings here. Basically the public, domain in Server 2008 mode, the name of the server we want to host it, and the root of the share, along with the permissions for the shared folder. So we're going to hit Create now. And you're going to see create namespace in progress. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here, and when it's done creating it, I'll come back and discuss more. Okay, that only took a few moments, and you'll see that it created the namespace with success. So if we close down the wizard, you'll now see your first namespace for the domain, which is adexample.com public. Now let's go ahead and set up a new folder. You can click on the namespace and type new folder. And for this, we'll use something really original, folder 1. And then you'll see down here, a little misspelling there, folder 1, and then you'll see folder targets. Now what this is if you already have a shared folder that maybe is named server domain controller 123 that you really don't want users to see or know, you could go ahead and set up a target which would point this namespace folder at that share so users could stay within the namespace and easily navigate to it. In this case, I am not going to do that, and so we'll just hit OK, and what will happen is it will create a folder in the local files for this. Take a second. So now if you go over here and click on the namespace, you'll see folder 1, and that would be available for us. The other thing you can do in this is go to Delegate Managers, and you can delegate management out to users or groups of this namespace. Okay. That pretty much sums up creating the namespace. The next video will go under DFS replication and how to move files across the network seamlessly. Once again, this has been Dave Lawler from davelawler.com. Thanks for watching.